Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to offer dana, then please do go to justthiszen.org/giving. Your support really does make a huge difference. Thank you so much.
Welcome, everyone. Today I want to play with some of the themes that arose during our recent Just This practice day, but express them differently in this particular talk. Since we last met a few weeks ago, I've been holding very close this line from a poem by Yehuda Amichai entitled Memorial Day for the Dead. I believe it relates to the Memorial Day in the United States, which you observe on the last Monday in May. The poem concludes, "Behind all this, some great happiness is hiding." So it's a poem which explores that within sorrow there are some intriguing possibilities. Today I was waiting in the dentist's waiting room with other patients waiting to be seen. And I was thinking, right here, behind all this, some great happiness is hiding. And then on the dentist chair with my mouth open, behind all this, some great happiness is hiding. And then at lunchtime, with Trudy, listening to an interview with the wonderful composer Oliver Arnolds, behind all this, some great happiness is hiding. And being with you now, today, behind all this, some great happiness is hiding, right now, wherever you are. The more I lead inquiry, the more I feel a connection with you individually and collectively. I now warmly wonder about you when we meet here and when you disappear and leave the space you have created to lead your precious lives. For absence to be felt, there has to be first presence. This morning when I met Trevor, who is here today, he shared that he is touched that being together, sitting together, involves a great trust. You have no idea what other people are experiencing or thinking, but somehow you know they're there with you. Sometimes I'm aware how everything is so small on these screens. It's like we live in these really tiny rooms. And I sometimes wonder what the views are like from your windows. What does Bridget gaze at from her window? What lights does Jessica see twinkling at sunset? Perhaps it's a kind of longing in me. I can only imagine the many landscapes I will be able to see from your homes. Perhaps our apparently small rooms can be likened to what Suzuki Roshi, not at all pejoratively, described as small mind. We live most of the time in a small room, in small mind, contained in the vast landscape of big mind. Perhaps we can think of small mind as a portal to big mind, a portal into a vastness when everything else drops away. I'm very aware that we meet at different times of the day in the Northern Hemisphere, and our body clocks at this point will be different according to where we are at this time. Breakfast in Hawaii, where it is 73 degrees and cloudy. Morning coffee in San Francisco at 10:40, where it's 51 degrees and sunny. Lunchtime in Austin, 73 degrees and sunny. Early afternoon in Boston, 48 degrees with sunny intervals. And 46 degrees here with sunset in 46 minutes time. So that's the weather roundup today. So I have a question. What's the weather like in your mind? What's the weather like in your mind right now? what would be your weather roundup at this point? And I wonder, as you turn towards your mind and explore the texture of your mind, if you are becoming aware that we have brought our minds with us today, perhaps like we sometimes bring young children to an event to sit beside us. John Dado Laurie said, "It is the direct pointing to the mind that is the teaching of Zen. Everything else is decoration." It is the direct pointing to the mind that is the teaching of Zen. Everything else is decoration. There is a poem by Norman MacCaig entitled An Ordinary Day. I'm going to read you the beginning and the end of the poem. It begins, "I took my mind a walk, or my mind took me a walk, whichever was the truth of it. The light glittered on the water, or the water glittered in the light." And it ends, "And my mind observed to me, or I to it, how ordinary, extraordinary things are, or how extraordinary, ordinary things are, like the nature of the mind and the process of observing, and the process of observing." And to contextualize the first 5 lines of the poem for our time together today, "I took my mind to inquiry, or my mind took me to inquiry, whichever was the truth of it. The inquiry flowed into my mind, or my mind flowed into the inquiry." Last week, Trudy explored the great matter through the koan Alive or Dead. T.S. Eliot called our time here the dream-crossed twilight between birth and dying. The dream-crossed twilight between birth and dying. Trudy explored how we are born to the mystery, live the mystery, and die to the mystery. This life borrowed from death, borrowed from emptiness. How does your mind flow through these precious days? I have a thing called a Roger Ebert moment, which is when I am astounded by something I see or hear or feel. And it happens quite often, but I remember it as a particular moment. And many years ago, I was decorating a room in our house, and I was listening to the 1 o'clock news, and it said that it announced that the film critic, the American film critic Roger Ebert, had died. And I'd never heard of him before, so I continued painting. But I got more and more curious as the news bulletin went on. And it talked about him as being very loved and very wise and very brave during the cancer which he was experiencing, and he had died from it the day before. So I started to research him a little bit, and I'm just going to read something he wrote about this precious life in the context of what we're exploring today. He says, "I know it is coming, and I do not fear it, because I believe there is nothing on the other side to fear. I was perfectly content before I was born. I was perfectly content before I was born, and I think of death as the same state. My life's memories are what I have brought home from the trip. I will require them for eternity, no more than the little souvenir of the Eiffel Tower I brought home from Paris. Kindness covers all my political beliefs. I believe that if, at the end, according to our abilities, we have done something to make others a little happier, that is about the best we can do. To make others less happy is a crime. To make ourselves unhappy is where all crime starts. To make ourselves unhappy is where all crime starts. We must try to contribute joy to the world. That is true no matter what our problems, our health, our circumstances. We must try. I didn't always know this, and I'm happy I have lived long enough to find this out. During our recent Just This in-person day of practice, our head student Jan led the afternoon Dharma activity. In pairs, she asked participants to describe their minds to their partners. This practice, which we thought would last about 10 minutes, went on and on. There was a real fascination with turning towards our mind and exploring how our minds are to us, how we experience them. How would you describe your mind to another person? Among the many strands of my mind, I can identify that I am drawn to wonder, and I'm sometimes drawn to its homophone, wonder in the sense of wandering off mentally and physically. I see these as very delightful qualities, but I think in their origin there is probably some suffering. Regarding the latter, wandering off, at school I would sometimes be fascinated by the particular presence of a teacher, for example, how her hands moved as she wrote on the board, the sound of her voice, the way the light came through the window and lit up her hair. Then when she would say, "Now, you all know what you're doing," I didn't know, but I could have drawn her or written about her. One of my favourite novels is the wonderful The Member of the Wedding by Carson McCullers. In the novel, 12-year-old Frankie is trying to explain the inexplicable to her housekeeper Berenice. My mind just resonates with how her mind expresses her experience. She says, Carson McCullers says, "Her heart was dark and silent, and from her heart the unknown words flowered and bloomed, and she waited to name them." Isn't that beautiful? What I've been trying to say is this: doesn't it strike you strange that I am I and you are you? I am F. Jasmine Adams and you are Berenice Sadie Brown. And we can look at each other and touch each other and stay together year in and year out in the same room. Yet always I am I and you are you. And I can't ever be anything else but me, and you can't ever be anything else but you. Have you ever thought of that? And doesn't it seem to you strange? At Just This, we are happy to offer people new to practice, either in person or online, an orientation. It surprises me, it surprises some that we focus on what we do in the Zendo, not what we believe. It includes the opening of the Zendo, the offering of incense, zazen, walking, bowing, listening to a talk, sharing and repeat. The invitation is to just follow the schedule, watch what other people do together, warmly wonder, and of course, you can always ask questions. Sometimes people ask, why? There are, of course, many responses to this question. We could think of this practice as a kind of training in care, so that when we leave, we can take this quality of care into our daily lives. Perhaps we could also say now, behind all this, some great happiness is hiding. Or inside all this, some great joy is hiding. Inside this simple ceremony, these simple practices which we take out into our daily lives, some great joy is hiding. I'm reminded that T.S. Eliot said, "The hint half guessed, the gift half understood, is incarnation." I want to close by reading a poem to you. It's called Spring Watching Pavilion by Ho Huan Huang. And it's about a spring evening. And so right now this is for Europe. But as you move through the day and the planet moves, it'll be appropriate for you in Boston in about 3 hours' time, and the Midwest in 6 hours' time, and Hawaii in about 12 hours' time. So it's for everyone at a different time of the day. And for me, it expresses something about what I want to share today, and it gives me a lot a lot of delight, and a lot of wonder. So, Spring Watching Pavilion. A gentle spring evening arrives airily, unclouded by worldly dust. 3 times the bell tolls echoes like a wave. We see heaven upside down in sad puddles. Love's vast sea cannot be emptied, and springs of grace flow easily everywhere. Where is Nirvana? Nirvana is here, 9 times out of 10. Where is Nirvana? Nirvana is here, 9 times out of 10. So, perhaps we can entertain the possibility behind all this some great happiness is hiding, or inside all this some great joy is hiding. How is your mind today? I would love to meet your mind. So, thank you so much.
Hello, Josh.
Oh, hi, Suzanne.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is a very apt theme for me today, because your question of how is your mind and about what's the hidden happiness or joy behind. Well, I just had cataract remove surgery just yesterday, and it was the weirdest psychedelic experience ever. And I've never had a psychedelic experience, but I was told that afterwards that many people say that. And your question of what's the joy behind it, what's the happiness behind it, I went into the experience with the thought that I don't know what this is going to be like, but I could bring myself as my best self, the most loving, the most kind, and the staff treated me beautifully, and I got the best of care. But your question of where is your mind today, my mind is still caught up in that experience. And if I got too attached to it, it would be very ungrounding, and it was for a while. But when I step away and say, that was just the experience of my eyes in that moment of time, it's not who I am.
Yeah.
And what you said about, I can only be who I am and you can only be who you are. And that's beyond anything else that occurs,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm really appreciating the way you described the day, including, really enjoying how people were with you. The whole piece, um, and the psychedelia, which goes a little bit with the painting behind you.
oh, it kind of does. Only this one's organized. That
Yes.
experience wasn't organized at all, but that's okay. Well, thanks for pointing that out, Josh. Yeah, those were the colors. Absolutely.
It's very beautiful. Yeah, it's it's, as you say, something about you don't want to cling on to that experience, and but it's still resonating and still there for you. Yeah, yeah,
It was, I'm so glad I'm following what you've said, Josh, and I'm so glad for it, because it was a bit of it was guidance for me, and guidance in general, to not cling to things. That I think that this experience can happen, and it'll happen. I mean, I've learned that in the last 6 months of this early grief, and that it's just going to happen, and I don't have to cling to it. It's just going to happen anyway, and it's going to roll itself out.
yeah. That's such a great teaching. You know, experience it fully, and not cling.
And not cling.
Very
Yeah,
still. So
not
beautiful.
cling.
Mm.
Yeah, that's not easy
No.
always, but some things are easy to let go of and other things are not. So thank you so much. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Josh.
Good to see you too.
Good to see you. Take care.
Hi, Catherine.
Sort of couldn't resist the temptation of just coming up and sitting with you. Mm.
Well, when I was saying earlier in the talk about how precious I hold people in this community, feels like an expression of that. You're coming up to meet. And how's the view from your window?
Lovely.
Mm.
It's quite a white sky,
Mm.
but the bare trees, the shapes of the bare trees are really beautiful above the houses, beyond the garden.
Mm.
Yeah. I
And
came with a rather crabbit mind, rather contracted and a bit annoyed and difficult. And I wasn't even sure I was going to come. But your lovely talk and your presence, it's gone. It's gone, and it's replaced with a tranquil mind.
So there's some kind of evaporations happened, and yeah, I can feel a sense of relief almost. Yeah, yeah.
Rabbit mind is like creating your own suffering, isn't it, really? Complaining, contracted. Yeah. But tranquil mind. Yeah. Different place.
I think, and we've talked about this before, sometimes we don't turn round to look at our minds. We don't talk with it. We don't witness it. It sounds like you've had a conversation.
Well, I was really noticing the irritable part of me that was dominating my mind. And I noticed it just going. And now I just feel this, now my mind feels very, very calm. And I'm glad to sit with you.
I can feel it.
Thank you.
Yeah, so welcome. See you soon.
Yes, I really hope so.
Hi, Shelley.
Josh, how are you?
I'm not sure. I'm delighted to see you.
Delighted to see you too.
Yeah.
This question you ask about the state of mind is very poignant for me today. I'm in the midst of a fairly significant work job transition. And I'm in my last week of my current job before I start my next job. And I find that this place of in between is not very comfortable.
Yeah.
Last week I was very still processing the grief of letting go of what was. And this week I feel like I'm right in the middle.
Yeah.
I don't know where I am, and I don't know where my mind is. And there is a spaciousness to it. And I'm thinking perhaps this is the joy and the happiness behind the discomfort.
Yeah, sounds like you're asking that question, is there some joy hidden in this place?
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm thinking is it's probably a really good thing to ask that question when things are quite tricky and difficult. Um, we can often find it if we're already feeling relative happiness or joy, but it's in that empty space that the question really is quite potent.
Yes,
Yeah.
I will definitely sit with it as the transition continues and the bumps that occur in transitions as they do.
Yeah. It's
Thank you.
interesting, in retreats, we often say it's easy to sit in a way and follow the schedule, but when there's a transition, that's when you can kind of see your practice because you're applying your practice to an uncertain situation. Offer kindness and the possibility of taking good care during that time. So I really wish you well, and it's a great question. How do we manage transitions?
Mm,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, it's really nice to meet you. Thank you. Hello, Sophie.
Hello, Josh.
Oh,
I'm really sorry for the weird angle, but it's because I don't have the right screen in front of me.
oh, the angle is perfect. It's lovely
Okay.
to see you.
Oh, so thank you so much for this springy mind. I felt really met with all these ideas and thoughts and sharings that you offered us. Mm. Mm.
And you've got the springy poem at the moment because it's evening in Switzerland, so
Yes, it is.
don't have to wait any time to fully fully appreciate it.
Mm, 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 mm. So, and I'm curious. I was listening to Catherine and knowing so it's so easy for me to change state even without noticing because my mind is so busy doing what it does, it doesn't even notice. Mm, mm. But,
Yeah, that's really helpful, isn't it? Because I think there'll be all of us with our minds
mm,
today
mm,
having that similar experience very often. It's
mm, mm,
like, where's it gone? What's happening?
mm, mm, mm,
Uh, yeah.
mm. So I felt a lot of joy to be able to join tonight and see you all. Mm,
I've got a lot of joy just seeing
mm,
you. Yeah.
mm, mm, mm,
Your I love what you described about your mind because
mm.
I think the second ancestor, before he became the second ancestor, went to Bodhidharma and he said, can you calm my mind, please? And Bodhidharma said, well, show me your mind and I'll calm it for you. And he said, well, I can't find it. He said, well, there. It's calmed. So that I think I love some of the Zen humor.
Mm,
Also
mhm,
quite profound because sometimes,
mhm,
like you're saying, if you're looking for it, it's kind of
mm,
quite elusive.
mm.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm. A lot of love.
Love, love. Thank you. Lovely to see you. So I was asking about the views from your window, because I'm always quite curious about how we lead our lives. And I'm looking at the buildings opposite, and it's just this week in the spring, the lights on the top rows of the building light up with the sunset, but it's only just this 1 or 2 weeks in the year, and then it won't happen. Precious, precious times. Hello, Bridget.
Well, Josh, thank you so much. I made a few notes, but I'm sure I'm going to listen to this again. And I was inspired by Suzanne as well. But because you mentioned the view out my window, I'll briefly describe it to you, because I live in an area where it's a relatively new home, because I'm living on an area where the airport used to be in Austin 30 years ago. And what they did in order for a developer to make this into a mixed-use community, they had to create areas of what are called retention ponds and detention ponds, because when we have storms, water can run off too fast and pollute our river.
Yes.
So when I go out my front door, I'm actually looking at a blackland prairie that they recreated by sculpting the land, and it collects the rain.
Okay.
We're very much in need of rain right now, and we're under a red flag warning because we're having such high winds.
Right.
With such low humidity. But what's just beginning to happen here in Austin is I'm beginning to see a few bluebonnets blooming in people's areas, and then there may be some down in that pond. And
lovely.
But your message called me forward.
Yeah, and I don't think we have bluebonnets here. Trudy will know. She's very good with plants.
I believe him.
Yeah. But they sound very beautiful.
Well, they can be and are, and they're quite lovely. So perhaps if I'll find your email somehow, and then I'll try to send you and Trudy a picture of some.
Please
But
do.
thank you. Thanks for this message. It's very heartwarming to remember to watch my mind, because I think I'd mentioned to you all that I had that joint counseling session with my son on March 5th. And of course, he has offered as a next step to try to arrange our lunch with his older brother and me. But I'm just continuing to live my life and seeing what unfolds, because he'll have to do that at his own pace. But I'm encouraged, and so that's what gives me joy now.
I'm really delighted you're encouraged. And how was being with your mind today? How was meeting it?
Well, it feels good. I've had a restful day. I had to cancel a couple of appointments because I wasn't feeling at my best, but I'm already just being enriched by this, and I'm listening to a book and audio book and taking care of some tasks. So my mind is always, I guess, just in seeing the people on the screen and being with you. It encourages me in a way that I can't really explain. I guess it's what you're talking about, is the presence.
Yeah, I think that was what Trevor was alluding to today. You know, he was saying how precious it is to sit with people with different minds thinking different things, you know, but there's a commonality of supporting each other. It's lovely. Yeah.
So that's what I feel.
Yeah, that's what I feel. It's lovely to see you. Bye, bye, Bridget. Bye. Hello, Sue.
Hello, Josh. I love when you share about, well, I love how you talk. I love how you say lovely. And I loved how you connected all of us by sharing a little of the weather. And I felt connected because I'm in Austin and it is breezy here. It's very sunny. and 1:22 on my.
Right.
So afternoon, and I'm seeing. I have a green belt behind my house, or next to my house, and it's going through that change of winter to spring, and what I see in the winter time are a really beautiful, like, architectural, all the leaves off the trees and just the branches look beautiful to me. And right now I'm seeing layers and layers of leaves flushing out, and not all of them, just certain trees. And I can no longer see through the trees. Anyway, I think of my mind doing all kinds of things like that. Like, I go through periods where it's not breezy. Actually, when you first opened up, when my husband was here, he said, when he attributed the weather and mind together, he said partly cloudy with a few thunderstorms rolling through.
Yes. Yes.
And I could really relate to that, because that is, how my mind has been working lately.
Yeah.
Sometimes I look around the house and I think it's cluttered, like my mind, and I start to try to put things away, thinking that's going to help. But when sitting with you and hearing the word wonder and wondering, it allows me to make peace with my mind, make friends with it as it flows around and does what it does.
That's beautiful. That's really, you've described a beautiful practice there, Sue. That's what I would, want for myself, for you, to be friends with our minds, however tricky they can be. It's I love what you're saying about it.
Thank you. And I think of self-care, often when I think of doing this, because it does rest my mind to be in this group with everybody. Anyway, self-care has been growing and growing and growing. Like, I see doctor appointments and lots of those kinds of things. And part of my self-care too is being with others and deeply listening to them, because that brings me to a whole different place, to be with others and connect that way.
We can't do this alone, and we need each other. And my thinking today was, of all the people spread out across, I imagine, the Northern Hemisphere, and leading these really precious particular lives with all that it involves, and how what a wonder it is to connect in this way. And like today, just hang out with you for a while, and yeah, it's nice. And it makes me more connected with everyone to feel that. So yeah,
it's lovely.
It's lovely. It's lovely.
It's lovely. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. So I've really appreciated being with you all today, both just sitting here, knowing you're there, and also when you've appeared beside me. And maybe I'll just finish with a little bit of something from Suzuki Roshi. So this is the book, Not Always So. And I usually have this book with me, and it's partly a kind of mind settling and mind management, because the photograph says to me, you'll be okay, you can do this, don't worry. So I really like having these, that image and these friends to kind of support me in whatever I do. So we need these things. We need people, we need each other, and we need the inspiration of our teachers in our lineage. So I'll close with that today, and we'll move on to the final verses, the 4 practice principles, please. If you'd like to say them all with me. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. Caught in the self-centered dream, only suffering, holding to self-centered thoughts, exactly the dream. Each moment, life as it is, the only teacher, being just this moment, compassion's way. I want to thank you, Ed, for holding the space today, and it was great to meet you before we started, just to have some time together, so thank you, and I look forward to seeing you all at some point, hopefully in the near future. Thank you so much.